All right, we're going to start letting people jump on. Welcome, welcome, and good morning. If any of you guys are on the West Coast, like Nick, you're up early. Just
Yes.
uh,
And I love it.
exciting.
Wake up fresh and early, get on and teach. My favorite thing to do.
Love it. All right, guys, we're going to give everybody just a minute to go ahead and hop in. But in the meantime, go ahead and find the chat if you haven't already. Let us know if you can send a chat, say good morning. Let us know where you're tuning in from. We'll get the chat going. Anybody? Is the chat working? Attendees can chat with everyone. That was my fault. That is not the first time I have done this. Good morning, Trish. Welcome. Oh, look at everybody. Oh, hi, Cheryl. Miranda. All right, guys. Haley Warmerdom in the chat is from CareWork, so she can send you any links that you need for CareWork or for Nick's work as well. St. Joe, Michigan. I'm going to assume it's cold there right now. Could be wrong. All right. Everybody's hopping on. Good morning. We're going to have a lot of energy today. If you guys don't know me or Nick, we're both pretty high energy people. When we speak, we get excited. Yeah. Love it. All right. We've got some people still joining. It's going to be a fun morning. If you have had trouble with recruiting and retention in the chat or in the past, go ahead and hop in the chat and say, yes, me. I see Ollie Becker on.
Ollie, what's up? Can you guys see me? Rachel, can you see me?
I can see you.
Can anyone else see me? Okay, it seems like everyone's saying yes.
They might be saying yes, that they've had trouble with recruiting or retention though.
That's probably, oh, I can see you. Thank you, Abby. Appreciate you. Okay. Awesome. Brad, awesome. Sandra, love it.
All right. Well, we're going to go ahead and hop in. Welcome to our webinar today on marketing for recruiting and retention. If you don't think about recruiting through a marketing lens, you got to shift that mindset. It is absolutely marketing, and then it turns into sales. So we're going to talk with Nick today. Nick is one of my friends in the industry. He brings such energy to marketing for home care agencies. If you have not spoken with him in the past, I highly recommend it. He can give you great insight on how to better market your agency for recruiting, but also for clients or building your brand. And he just gives you the steps that make it so easy to implement, because Nick believes in taking action, which is what we want to see. So in today's webinar, I encourage you, take notes, take down notes of action that you can take right away, because none of this means anything if you don't implement it. So for Nick and I both, our goal is to give you takeaways that you can put into place in your agency right away. Nick, did I miss anything? Anything else people should know about you?
That was fantastic.
Awesome.
As always.
With that being said, I'm going to turn it over to Nick. If you guys have questions, feel free to put them in the chat. Nick, I'll jump in if people have a question that we really want you to answer. We have the chat. We also have the question and answer function, which is super helpful. So with that being said, take it away, Nick.
I love it. All right. So real quick, intentions. I ask that you be present, be engaged, be open, and take notes. Rachel said that already, but I wanted to reiterate it. Another thing, love Jim Rohn. If you guys aren't Jim Rohn fans, you should become one. When you listen to something valuable, write it down. When you come across something important, write it down. All right. Rachel talked a little bit about me. The owner of Digital Champion, speaker, video coach, business consultant specializing in home care. And I've been teaching and speaking across the country since 2016 about how businesses can start to leverage and utilize video and social media to grow their businesses, grow their brands, and get results. And so today we're going to be talking about caregiver recruitment and retention done differently. All right. So here's a quick breakdown, right? Why it matters, how to attract audiences while still having caregiver first mentality. I know Rachel's big caregiver first, right? And how to leverage happy caregivers to get more. All right. Now, one of the big things is really understanding in marketing, there's two aspects, right? There's traffic and there's conversions. And a lot of times we're focusing so much on traffic, traffic, traffic. I need more leads, more leads, more leads, more caregivers, more caregivers, more applicants, more applicants. But we're not spending enough time on, hey, how are we converting the ones that we are getting? This works with clients as well, right? Referral sources. But today we're going to be spending most of our time on the caregiver aspect of this and how we can increase those conversions. But one thing that we should discuss real quick, right, is this, caregiver crisis. But this isn't new, right? This has been going on. This was prior to COVID. There was issues within having a caregiver shortage, and it is this supply and demand. And so they have the power. Your caregivers, the ones that you're looking to attract, they have the power. And so it is essential, absolutely essential, that we are selling, selling, selling. And so you're going to hear me talk and you're going to hear me say that word sell a lot today, because that is what our main objective is. And a lot of times we're not thinking about that when it comes to attracting caregivers, which is why we often struggle to get results, because we're like, oh, well, if I have a job and they need a job, then they're going to want to work with me, right? That's not how it works. And we're going to address that as we dive deeper into this, right? So real quick, this is often what I see, right? There's the apple and there's two apples, right? And I don't know if you guys have ever had like a red delicious apple, but they're terrible. They're not good. I don't know who in the right mind likes red delicious apples. I think the name is off. But the purpose, right, is this is often what we see in regards to businesses. This is what they're choosing from. Caregivers are choosing. But what if we were an apple crisp? Big fan of apple crisp. I think they're just phenomenal. The name speaks for itself. It's just a nice crispy apple. But what if we could be a pineapple, right? How are we standing out so much that when someone looks at our organization, it is completely different from what they are looking at from another organization? This is essential in how we're marketing our business to caregivers, how we're leveraging, how we're showcasing ourselves, that we stand out. Now, before we get into kind of the how of what we're doing and how we're standing out, I want to talk real quick about some things that you do not want to do when it comes to marketing your business online, specifically with social media. And this is the number one thing. And this goes for clients. This goes for everything, just in regard to social media in general, is not treating your social media like a billboard. And I see this all the time. It's like, we're hiring, we're hiring, we're hiring, we're hiring, we're hiring. Just this constant posting that you have jobs. This is harmful to your social media presence. Understanding what it is you're doing. And the same thing works from clients. It's like, buy my stuff, buy my stuff, buy my stuff, right? That is not what social media was intended for. Social media's full purpose originally was to build relationships and what we're sharing. And so our social media should be a representation of our organization, not just trying to derive the results that we want. And so we're really thinking about our audience in mind. When we say things like buy my stuff or I'm hiring, this is all about you. Hey, we're hiring. We need people to hire. We need people to hire, right? Buy my stuff. That is not putting your target customer, your audience first. And so we need to think about that whenever we're thinking about what we're sharing and how often we're doing it. And the reason why this is damaging to your social media is because if you have existing followers that are on social media, prospects, clients, friends, family, and you're just constantly posting about your services or, hey, we're hiring, then now no one's engaging with your content. And so often, right, when it comes to social media, and this is a common misconception, that people think that when they post on social media that it goes off into the internet and people will discover me and find me, this beautiful magic thing called the internet. That is not how it works right now, right? There are some elements like using Instagram Reels or TikTok where you get a more of a potential organic reach where you're getting shown to other people that aren't your followers. But right now, specifically talking about Facebook, the only people seeing your content are your followers. And if we're being honest, the amount of people that are actually seeing your Facebook posts are probably about 10% if you're lucky, of your followers, which is why so much of your content, if you look at the analytics, the reach is like 7 people. And this is usually for people, if you have like maybe like 500 to 2,000 followers on your social media, you're not getting a ton of engagement. If you are constantly doing these things that I'm talking about, you're going to see that the results are not there. And you may be seeing this. And the reason behind this is because Facebook, I was just at a conference, Social Media Marketing World, last month, and they were talking about how Facebook is so much more geared towards the personal sides of things, the personal business. And so your business pages are not being shown. And so it is essential that we are really thinking about how we can be different, that's going to stand out and really make a difference in what we're doing, and leveraging it as an asset, because the truth is that people are looking at your social media. But there's some things that you should know when it comes to leveraging your business online and what you're doing, right? And you have 3 different target audiences when it comes to marketing. And this becomes this is super unique when it comes to home care and comparatively to other businesses out there, where you really have to be smart about the content that you're creating, because you do have all 3 of these audiences. And sometimes I have people come to me and they ask, should I have a separate Facebook page for caregivers? I'm like, no, that is a lot of work. It's, I know time, right? It's hard enough creating content and showing up on social media in a way that's effective on one channel, let alone trying to do it on 2. And so what I'm going to talk about today for a little bit is how can you strategically create content that really targets all 3, but understanding, right, that your need is high on the caregiver perspective, right? And so that's why that caregiver first mentality is super important, but also understanding that we don't want to neglect the other 2 either. And so we want to be really strategic about what it is that we're presenting. So we want to create a strategy. We want to provide value, right? And we want to make sure that we are speaking to all of our audiences. And there's a way to do it that attracts all 3, right? This is just an example. This is Jerry, one of my clients. When it comes to your caregivers or prospective caregivers, when they apply, right, they're applying to at least 6 other agencies. And if you don't think that's true, then you're, might be in a little bit of denial in what's going on in this caregiver market right now. And so when it comes to how you're leveraging the different assets and tools and whether or not people are looking at your social media, this is proof. One of my clients has said, hey, we just had a caregiver interview, and you know what she said? She looked on our Facebook and she liked what I actually posted. So what you're doing is amazing because it's working. I'm the only one in the community that does that. Now, Jerry's specifically talking about video, which is what I'm going to go into. But the difference is that what Jerry is sharing is personalized, it's customized, it's not stock photos, right? And her caregiver went to the Facebook page. So is your Facebook page an asset, or is it just there, right? And this goes back to the Apple analogy, right? If you're just Facebook is there, then you're just another Apple, right? So how much of this are you doing something where now Facebook becomes an asset, where you can say, hey, go check out our social media. You can see what it's like and what our organization is all about. So thinking about it from that perspective, again, leveraging it as a tool and not just as like, oh, something that I'm supposed to do or outsourcing to somebody else. And you get this bland, boring content that doesn't actually drive results. So what can you do? Well, you plan, and you plan. As Tyler says, if you want someone that has depth of knowledge when it comes to living in the digital world, social platforms, and what to do, and more importantly, what not to do, he's definitely the person to talk to. Remember what Nick says, plan. It will help you. All right. So this is a key fundamental aspect in leveraging what it is that you are doing, right? How are you strategizing what you're doing online where you have that plan? Yeah, love it, Haley. The 3 Ps, exactly. Plan. How are we doing this, right? So here are some things that you can do on a regular basis that coincides with what you're already doing. This is the aspect that I love when I talk about social media and what you're doing. Your social media should not be a separate entity from your own existing marketing operations, retention, everything. Your social media is a representation of everything that you're doing in your business. And so it should, one, correlate with what you're doing in your direct referral marketing, right? Going out, networking events, going, to different referral sources, as well as things that you're doing internally, right? With employees. And so a lot of times, I was just at a conference last week, and I was talking with one of the attendees. I'm like, oh, are you doing, employee of the month? They're like, yeah. I'm like, are you posting it on social media? They're like, oh, no. I'm like, you guys are already doing the first step. You're already doing this thing where you're showcasing your employees and showing that appreciation. And so think about this, right? This is the perspective of conversions. If a caregiver comes to your social media and sees that you're doing employee appreciation, you're talking about how much you value your employees, you're giving shout outs, that is huge in driving more results, getting that show up rate. If they're coming and checking out your social media, right? Now they're seeing what it's like, the company culture. So often people are spending so much time trying to create a company culture, but then aren't actually showcasing it. Your company culture shouldn't start with after you hire someone. We want to make sure that we are showcasing it ahead of time. How are we showcasing our company culture on our application pages? How are we showcasing it before they even apply, before they even show up in an interview? This comes with documentation. This comes with videos. This comes with taking photos of what it is that you are doing and how you are leveraging it. All right. So we want to create a plan and we want to execute the plan. So there's a couple different things. These are some notes that you can take when you're planning out the year. I love New Year's, right? It's a great time. I know we're into April, about to be May. But this is just, I like to go through the year itself, right? So when it comes to the new year, right, we have this fresh start. This is a perfect example of how you can leverage in just talking about things in the new year. Hey, what are your goals? What are you looking to accomplish? Here are some ways to achieve your goals. That's relevant to your caregivers. That's relevant to your clients. It's relevant to your referral sources. And so now we're thinking about that in regards to content that we create. Is how are we creating that content that targets all three and is focused on what is driving results, what they want to see, what's providing value for them. Some other examples, right? So February 14th to the 21st, Alzheimer's dementia staff education. How many of you guys are doing education and training your caregivers? Let me know in the chat while I take a sip of coffee. Yes. Brad, Catherine, James, I'm sorry if I'm butchering that. I love it. Yes. So you guys are all doing this training, right? And so it's so important that we are looking and evaluating at things that we're already doing. How are we showcasing it, right? So if you're training your staff, let's say Alzheimer's Dementia Staff Education Week, then you have this opportunity to then, one, talk about Alzheimer's and dementia education. How are you training? This is a huge one, right? And this is a whole nother topic in regards to dementia being one of the most effective marketing strategies, because one, it's a super high need. It becomes with a lot of times it's 24-hour cases and things of that sort. So it becomes super valuable when you're leveraging this. But if you think about your target audience and what you're doing, it becomes really impactful in what you're sharing. So an example in regards to Alzheimer's and dementia, I had one of my clients, and they created a video about how to better communicate with someone who has dementia. And I love this topic and it's really powerful, but what was so awesome to see is that he had one of his cousins comment on the video and said, wow, this is so helpful. I have a special needs child and I'm going to use this tip for them. And so here was something that wasn't even geared towards, a senior in this case or dementia. It was someone with a learning disability and now able to better communicate. And I asked my client, I was like, so what's the value of this? It's like, oh, it's priceless, right? To be able to create that impact through education and how we're sharing, right? And then the other element here too is that if you're educating your audience, then you're just, hey, we're doing this week. Take a picture of your staff, your team. Hey, we're training people on dementia. It's so important that our staff is trained. And so that's a representation where you're showcasing that you're doing training. You're showcasing actually real people, not stock photos, right, of your team. So that's going to help where people are actually going to see it. Because if you ever notice, right, when it comes to social media, if you see something that looks any bit like an ad, you just like, you just scroll right on past. But if you see a photo of a bunch of people, you're like, huh, who is this? And you look at it and you try and see, who's this person? Who do I know in this photo? Right. And so that's the same thing that we want to think about when it comes to our social media. These personalized photos, these real photos are the ones that are going to stand out the most, that are going to make the greatest impact. And what that does in this case, right, is clients, oh, this is great. They're educating their staff around dementia. That's valuable for me, right? This is relevant for the caregivers. Oh, they're showcasing their caregivers actually on their social media. They're doing training. That's important. That's what I want to see, right? And so these are things that you're already doing. We just need to make sure that we're showcasing them. Another example, right? National Caregiver Day, and there's tons of different holidays like that. National Nurses Day, Nurses Week, CNA Week. There's a ton of, there's a national calendar link that I can send to you guys if you want to see it, that just kind of goes over all these different events that you can use in your marketing. But the thing is, right, so we're educating our team and we want to educate you too. So like, that's kind of the example I was talking about with the dementia, that if you're teaching dementia to your team, you can teach it to the audience as well, right? And so it's this aspect of that. And then this was in Scottsdale last year. This is Jonathan Marsh and Debbie Humphreys. And what I love is, so we actually created this video, pretty cool view, right? So it's pretty awesome. We made this video, and they're both owners of two different organizations, but we did a collaborative content where they talked about how they were at this conference and they were learning about how to grow their businesses and grow their brands. It's so important that we do training for ourselves the same way that we train our caregivers. And so we strategically strategized this content in a way that was focused around how you can showcase what you're already doing, right? You're going to conferences, you're learning information. Hey, I'm in this great webinar with Nick, right? No, you don't need to post that. But when it comes to this, right, is how are you documenting the things that you're doing and then twisting it and tweaking it to then be targeted towards your entire audience, right? And that's what we're always trying to think about. A lot of times when it comes to social media, it's always me, 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 me. Everything that we're sharing should always be a direct representation of, how is this valuable for my audience, right? How can I make this a message that's relevant for them, right? The same thing with caregiver. Oh, we're hiring. Do you want to make a difference in your community? Right? Now we're speaking to what their desires are. And we want to think about that all the time whenever we're creating different pieces of content. Some other events here, like I said, I'll put the calendar link once we wrap up here and I have time. I'll grab the link for you guys. And so March, patient safety awareness, right? Fall prevention. Oh man, I love fall prevention. It's one of the first couple videos that I always have my clients create, because I think it's so impactful in what we're doing. And the thing that makes it valuable too for your caregivers is understanding that they may be in somebody's home and they may not be thinking about the falls, right? They may not be thinking, oh yeah, like they actually could use some more grab bars in the home. Now, assuming you do a routine safety inspection, but things change, right? There may not be clutter when you move in, or when you first start services, but then you come back and the clutter has accumulated, right? And so you're seeing that element of how all of a sudden this content that becomes so valuable, right? Like fall prevention. And the reason why I love fall prevention, patient safety awareness, and that aspect is because there was a example where I got a phone call. It was a Friday night. I was, in my, mid to low 20s, and my father calls me and literally like had people over, which was just so funny when I think about it. But it's so clear in my head getting this phone call and, hey, your family calls, you answer, right? That's a rule I have. And so I picked up the phone and my dad's like, hey, I just wanted to let you know that we're getting your grandmother some home care. And I was like, well, first off, you didn't even reach out to me. Like, this is the business that I'm in. But the first thing that came into my head was, oh, did they get rid of that 2-inch thick carpet in her room and in her living room? And he's like, oh, no, we need to do this. Right. So there's a couple aspects here. One, this home care agency failed to do a routine safety inspection, which to me is like really poor, right? We got to make sure that we're doing a safety inspection when we get there. Two, I can't blame my dad. He didn't know, right? He's not in this business, not really thinking. And then three, me, I should have known. But sometimes when it's our own family, we're not even thinking about it all the time, right? In this industry, a lot of times it's like tripping hazard, duh, right? This is here. But when it's our own family, right, we're not always seeing it. And so it becomes really valuable in just sharing this information that truly makes a difference. Falls are one of the top 10 leading causes of death. So if you can create content around these things that become valuable, things to look for, things to check, then your caregiver will see these things. It's a good reminder, right, in what they should know. And so again, this just continues into that effort of how we're strategizing content that kind of targets all three, right? Parkinson's, same thing. Stress awareness. Oh my gosh, how many of you guys are stressed out, right? It's a part of life, right? There's different things that you can do to avoid stress, to help with stress, right? This becomes valuable content that you can use. Employee Health Fitness Month, right? All of this aspect, National Healthcare Holiday, and then happy holidays. How can you incorporate holidays that showcase your team, right? That's something that people want to see. That's real. That's you, right? That
Nick,
becomes really valuable in how you're. Did you have something, Rachel?
yeah, I want to emphasize something you said a minute ago, and then we have a question in the chat. But as we're talking about recruiting and retention, I want you guys to think of all of this through this lens, especially what Nick was just talking about with the training and sharing when you're doing team trainings. Because one of the things I hear all the time is like, we want more high quality caregivers. We want caregivers that want to stay around. And these things that Nick is sharing are what attracts those kinds of people. So his suggestion about sharing, hey, here's a picture of us all doing a team train, the caregivers that you want at your agency are going to see that, or if they see that, are going to want to work at your agency. And I just love all of this, Nick. This is so helpful. But we did have one question in the chat. What are your thoughts on iPhone content versus professional content when it comes to pictures and videos and things like that?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll touch on that in a sec. One thing I wanted to piggyback on what you said too. One of my clients, what they did was during their training, they actually filmed their training. So it was video content that they can leverage on their YouTube that's specific, because again, this is what they're teaching. So work smarter, not harder. And to answer your question, they filmed it on an iPhone. And so that's the power. I recommend, right? One of the things you can do when it comes to creating content, you could go out and you could get a photographer, and it's actually really affordable to get professional photos. And I do actually recommend doing it where you can get some nice professional headshots, things around the office. But for the most part, you don't need anything except your smartphone. It is so powerful. The content that you have, it's all they market. Phones. If you see any marketing ad, it's like, we got a new camera. This camera does this. We've got 5 cameras on this, right? So like they're constantly trying to market the camera and how quality is. And the other element here, do you want to know the most amazing posts that you can do or style of post? You guys will never guess.
I want to
It's
know.
called, right? Drum roll, right? It's called the selfie. Oh my gosh. No way. And some of you guys may be thinking, nope, I'm not doing that. I don't want to do a selfie. It is so powerful because nothing is more real than taking a photo of yourself, right? Yeah, what's that? It's so great. So I highly encourage you to use your phone and just make real photos, because that's what's real. I think a lot of times we think about our brand and we're like, oh, we need to perceive it like that we're this like massive, crazy brand and we have all professional stuff. It's like, that's not what people want. the world is changing, specifically in home care, where people don't want to work with these massive conglomerates. They want to work with the small businesses. And so by showcasing who you are, real people, using an iPhone, just showcasing behind the scenes, regardless of how big you are, right? Those elements of showcasing who you are and just using your iPhone is so much more impactful. Also, common misconception, right? Most people are looking at your content on their phone. And so when you're taking a photo on, let's say, an iPhone, it's not going to look that much different than a professional photo because they're seeing it on such a small screen. And the same thing works for video. I mean, it doesn't need to be crazy fancy, right? So this becomes so powerful in how we're using it. That was a long-winded answer to yes, use your iPhone. It is definitely the way to do. And just be real with it. Like, again, those selfies, those photos of just like you and your team having fun, doing things in the office. There's other things too, like National Donut Day, right? And then so you bring in donuts and then you take a picture of your team eating donuts. I had one of my clients recently. They and I love it because he's just like executing the program that I have so amazingly. It was National Pajama Day. And so what he did was he had his whole staff wear pajamas and come into the office. And then he took a picture of him and his staff wearing pajamas. Right. And so what you're doing and how you're marketing online can actually be an internal operation in what's going on within your office staff that becomes fun to showcase your brand and, hey, what you're about, right? National Pet Day, showcase your pets, showcase your office pets that people love, right? Dogs, cats. Oh my gosh. People go nuts. So it becomes really powerful. So think about this, right? What are some things in your business that you are already doing that you could be showcasing and documenting and using on social media? So just like make a note right now, take a minute. And if there's any other questions, Rachel, I can do that now too.
Yeah, we've got a couple. So somebody asked, what do you think of content created by your own caregivers?
I would ask what kind of content, what specifically kind of
If
content?
I just started brainstorming, I would think of caregiver testimonials, a video testimonial of why they love to work there. Or if you have a great caregiver, encouraging them to make a day in the life video of what it's like to work in home care.
Yeah, we will talk about testimonials. I got a whole section on that we'll dive into that for sure. And then, I mean, if your caregiver takes a selfie of you and the client and maybe get a media release form, right? Because there are some elements, right, with like HIPAA, and you need to make sure that you're, if you are doing anything with clients, that you're kind of covered in that area. But yeah, showing their work. Yeah, I mean, an inside look at what they do is awesome. And there's other ways that you can actually do this that doesn't require them doing it, because I know it can get really difficult to get your clients or caregivers to do things. Does that sound like an accurate thing? And so yes, this all sounds nice to get a caregiver to record a video of their day in the life, but will that happen?
Mm.
Maybe. But I'm going to share some ways that you can do it that kind of put it in your hands to be able to showcase what it is that you are doing.
Nice.
So for the sake of time here, I'm just going to keep moving along here. And then I'll make sure we have plenty of times for questions. And Rachel, if you want to interrupt me, by all means, for more questions. I love the interaction, and I gotta say, you guys' engagement right now is fantastic. So keep it coming. I love it. So I touched on this earlier, right? How are we increasing our conversions? How are we driving what it is that we're doing and getting those sales? How are we selling to our caregivers, right? And so one of the big elements here is time. How many of you guys want more time? The one thing we can't get back, the one thing you can't buy more of, right? It is, yes, Desiree. Yes, me. Who doesn't want more time, right? And so how can we create resources, tools, and assets that can be leveraged and used again and again and again without having to recreate the wheel and spend all this time? And so the answer, right, How, drum roll, is video, right? And I've touched on video already a few times throughout this training of really understanding how we are leveraging and utilizing this asset that is video. One of the funny things too about video that I want to touch on real quick is thinking about the future of just the evolution of video. A lot of times people think about social media, right? The TikToks of the world. But do you guys remember Vine? Yeah, it doesn't exist anymore, right? But the medium itself, video, still remains to be popular. You know, TikTok, right? There's a reason, like Instagram Reels, like Facebook Reels. People are pushing video content, but it's not the social media site that matters. It's about the mediums that are driving the greatest results. And so understanding that video is a skill set that takes time to develop and learn and to practice. And I'll get in some ways that you can do that so that you can drive results. And some other aspects here, right? According to Forbes, 70% of marketing professionals report that video converts better than any other medium. Converts, right? We're talking about conversions here. And viewers retain 95% of a message when they watch it in video compared to 10% when reading it in text. People want to watch videos. They like videos. All right. And why video can be so impactful, right? Is that great brands have a face. So there's a difference between just like a stock video and actually that sometimes people call it like talking head video, which is basically you talking to the camera, vlogging, right? Aspect of just you being on there. But this is what people want to see, right? Your caregivers want to see a real person. Your clients, they want to see real people. People don't do business with businesses. They do business with people, right? So it's not B2B, it's not B2C, it's P2P, people to people. So the more that you can interact and showcase yourself and brand yourself becomes really impactful. And there's ways for you to go about becoming an expert and showcase. I'm not going to get into that too much today because we're focused more on the caregiver aspect, but there are 2 core videos that we're going to talk about that you can use and leverage that are going to drive results that you can use again and again and again. But one quick note is that video becomes really impactful on multiple avenues, right? You can use this in sales and marketing, recruitment and retention, customer retention, internal operations, referral source development. And I'm going to touch on a few of these here, right? Recruitment and retention being the big ones, customer retention, and a little bit on the sales and marketing side. But when it comes to this, right, when it comes to these caregivers and touching back on what we talked about earlier, that they're applying to 6 other organizations and they're constantly, right, just looking, why should they choose you? What makes you different, right? We want to be different, right? We want to stand out. We want to showcase ourselves. Hey, we're not just some other home care company. Well, what's the one thing that's different about you than anyone else, right? It's not that you take care of your caregivers the best. It's not that you have the best care. The thing that makes you different is you and your why. If you haven't heard of the book, Start With Why by Simon Sinek, I highly recommend it. It's a really powerful, but what's become so valuable in my experience and, working, being in the industry since 2014, and just meeting so many home care agencies over the years, it's so amazing to hear the stories about why you got into this business. And the truth of the matter is that you could have chosen so many other businesses. There's a lot of businesses out there, right? There's online businesses, there's storefront businesses. I mean, there's just the list goes on and on and on, but you chose home care. You said, hey, I want to make a difference. I want to help people stay safe in their home, right? Maybe you had a situation in your life, right, where something happened. In many cases, at least from my experience and what I've heard, sometimes it's bad. You had a terrible experience with your parent and you're like, we got to do better. And so I started my own business to do a better job than what we had for ourselves. Think about the power of that in showcasing, hey, I want to do better. I wanted to make a difference, right? That's what people can get behind. And your why is specifically targets, right? This is those same three audiences, your referral sources, right? Prospective clients, and of course, caregivers. Sharing your why is a powerful weapon. Many of you guys are probably already doing this to some capacity when you're doing lunch and learns, when you're talking with prospective clients. So why are we not using this up front, right? Ahead of time, before we even get to the situation where we're talking with clients or before they're coming in for an interview. We want this information to be used and leveraged as a tool, right? Because people don't buy what you do, people buy why you do it, right? This is the buy, right? The sell. We are selling to caregivers. And so this is your key differentiator, showcasing who you are as a person, what your goals, what your mission is, why you chose home care, what's your story, right? And why you got into this business, and then using that as an asset, right? And this was something that when I first launched my business, I was focused more on the creating educational content like the fall prevention, the dementia, but understanding the audience, right? Or understanding your struggles, right? As home care owners, I refocused on understanding that the two core videos that must be done first is this one, right? Your why video. And then I'm going to get into the second video and why it's so impactful for what you're doing. But we start with your why. And if you want to see examples of this, you can go to thedigitalchamps.com/examples, and you can actually see what my clients are creating, what they're using. And you'll see there's sections about the about video, your recruitment video, and then educational content, collaborational video, right? So all these different videos that we are creating in the industry, but you see the stories. One of my favorites here is actually, and it's funny because I recorded it like 6 years ago, but is Steve, and he's this big, burly, kind of tough man, and when we got him on camera and he shares this story, he just starts getting so emotional talking about his uncle who had dementia and being able to provide that care. And oh my gosh, it was just so powerful to hear him getting emotional. And it's that element of showcasing who you are, sharing something that's a little personal, right? That maybe gets emotional, right? That it happens, right? These are important things to you. That's what makes the difference. That's what makes the impact. This is an example, and I know Jamie, Lisa's daughter, is on here. Shout out, Jamie. Appreciate you. And Lisa had a story where she had somebody that was a caregiver, and they had just hired this caregiver. But then what happened was, oh, my watch is going off. She had a caregiver that had an emergency to go take care of their parent in a different state, even though she had just got hired. And so as a policy that they have, they let the caregiver go because she missed all of her first shifts after just getting hired. So after her caregiver went and took care of this emergency, she came back and she said, I want my job. I didn't quit my job. I want to work for you, right? It's like, this is the most impactful thing for how we're leveraging our story, because she said, I want to talk to Lisa. I want to talk to Lisa. And Lisa's like, why does she want to talk to me? This is so weird. This has never happened. Why is she so adamant? And basically, and you can see, I'm not going to read this testimony, but basically she said that I watched your video on YouTube and I want to work for you. I can go down the street and work for anyone, but because of the video that I saw, right, telling your story, I want to work for you. And so Lisa said, in 7 years, I've never had a caregiver come back like that, right? It is so powerful. Yes, I'm glad, Haley, bringing chills. It is really amazing in what can happen when you share your story, to be able to make that level of impact, to have somebody come back, almost demand to talk to the owner so that she could express how much she wanted to work for this company, knowing that she could go down the street and work for someone else. Right. And so people are willing to take a pay cut. They're willing to get paid less, right? For a good company culture, for an organization that has a powerful why, for a business they can get behind, that they feel like they're doing something more and they're not just a number. That's the impact that you can create. And then you can use this video so effectively in so many different areas, right? You're adding this to your website, you're featuring it on your YouTube page, right? You create a QR code that you're using on flyers that you can send, right? If you're going to fairs, right? Job fairs, or you're posting it in a college, right? You can drive people to this video using a QR code, adding it to your email signature. Now, some of this is for the client perspective, right? And I've bolded the ones that are more caregiver centric, right? Sending it to caregivers after they apply. So a number of my clients, and I'm actually collaborating with Pre-Intent, I know Rachel likes Pre-Intent too, is like utilizing this video in the automation process. And so what we've seen when we implant this video in the Pre-Intent automation, it is now increasing their show up rate, right? Because this is what's separating you, right? Video converts better than any other medium. How are you differentiating yourselves? People are not doing this, right? The only people that I know that are doing this are the ones that are working with me, right? Because this is not being done, and video is the most powerful tool that you can use. And like, I'm not going to read the whole list, but again, there's so many other elements in using your story video, sending it to referral sources, and how you utilize this video, which is why it's the first video that I have my clients make, because it's the most impactful to really target those 3 different audiences, get the biggest results in what you're doing. People won't remember what you said or did. They remember how you made them feel, right? How can you touch on your own heartstrings, your own personal story that they're going to get behind, that they're going to remember, right? So from a recruiting standpoint, and I'm going to start moving here, is reviews, right? We talked about this already. How can we leverage and utilize reviews, right? This is huge, right? What do you do when you go to Amazon? What's the first thing you do, right? You check out the reviews. But so often, right, it's not always about like the reviews itself, but also how many reviews, right? A little side note here, if you're not using Google reviews, make sure that you start doing it. It is a free SEO tool. My dad started using it for his glove fixing business and immediately just started getting new business, 25%. His business started getting new leads just from getting reviews and utilizing Google. My dad said, I can't believe this is free. So if you're not using Google reviews, make sure you do. But in this particular aspect, we're just talking about caregiver reviews and how we're leveraging what it is that we're doing. And there is strength in numbers. So if you go to my website, there's about 25 video testimonials. My goal is 100. I don't know if I get there, maybe I'll just keep going, but that's the vision. Is someone going to watch every single one of these videos? Absolutely not. But it speaks volumes that there's this many people saying nice things about me, right? And so it is that strength in numbers and how we're leveraging and utilizing it. Same thing with some of my clients, right? They got this whole page. And what I love about this one too, is you'll see on the right-hand side, there's 2 of the same person. But what we did was we actually had, she recorded it twice, but once in Espanol and once in English. And so being in San Diego, this is really impactful because there's a huge Spanish speaking community. And so imagine having a testimonial that's specific in Espanol becomes really powerful to showcase. So this is a really cool example. But again, you have all of these videos that showcases your team. And then what you can also do, so this is one of my other clients, we did a caregiver interview process, and I have very specific questions that we ask that become part of the strategy to design based on sales psychology and understanding. And a key element here, all right, is that we're showcasing the transformation. And so there's a number of other questions that I asked, but the big one is, what was it like before working with us? And what is it like now? And what that does is it showcases the transformation of before. So it's like, oh, the organization I worked for was really bad at communication. I just felt like a number. They didn't appreciate me. Now that I work for you, I love that I feel appreciated. I feel like I'm part of the family, right? This is the element that we're able to create, because if somebody's watching that video and they're hearing somebody say, oh my gosh, doesn't like the communication, doesn't feel appreciated, then they connect with that caregiver. And so they feel a connection to that, and then they want that transformation too. And so this is an example in regards to utilizing this with client testimonials, or just anytime you're getting a review, is showcasing that transformation. And this is the element too in understanding that my goal has never been to just make fancy videos, but it's about making videos that work, making videos that are designed around sales psychology, that are going to drive results. So understanding this becomes really powerful. And then what we're able to do with these testimonials is now we made multiple videos. So the main recruitment video, we create a compilation video. This is like the recruitment video that I'm talking about, video number 2. What makes home helpers different, right? And so we have this really powerful video that's a compilation of what the caregivers are saying. And so the video doesn't need to be perfect when you're in the recording process. You're just going to take the best pieces and put it together. And then this is the video that you use again and again and again and again, right? That you can use in your internal operations, that you can use with pre-intent and sending it, or, however you're automating your system. I know Indeed has like a company page, so you can put this video on the company page. I think you do have to pay for that, but anyway, there's way different elements on how you can use these videos. And then the other example, we were able to create the benefits of being a caregiver. And so that becomes an impactful tool for people that maybe are thinking about caregiving, right? They're not really sure. And so now that's targeted towards that very specific audience of people that are looking for a change, and understanding that we do have different audiences of caregivers. We have people that are maybe at a different organization, or someone that maybe is looking to get into it. And so now we have these 2 videos that become impactful to drive. And then also you get each of the testimonials individually. And so you can see, right, we've got 6 videos that you can use and leverage. And this just, it works. And you can use this in so many elements, right? Adding it to your careers page, sending it to caregivers after they apply, before the interview, automating it, QR codes. I touched on that a little bit already. And so this was Caleb. He said, we have a landing page for recruiting employees with our company. The average time spent on the page when we first launched it was 1 minute and 30 seconds. Now, 6 months later, we went from people spending a minute and a half to spending 5 minutes and 41 seconds on average when they visit our landing page, right? People want to watch video. They want to see it. They want to watch it. And his video was only a couple minutes long, but yet you can see the increase in time, right? You can see the increase in how this is increasing their conversions to be able to leverage this, right? And so that's the key element in how we're utilizing it in this recruitment process, where people are going to stay on your page longer. They're going to get a better idea who you are. If you just have your page is just apply here, then you're missing the whole element of, right, sales and selling. Your recruitment page, I see this all the time where people are not utilizing their recruitment page. It's just a form. Oh, we have jobs, apply here. Your recruitment page needs to be a sales page where it's representing, there's photos of your company culture, there's different elements of the problems that you're solving, there's testimonials, there's what they get when they join your team, there's just so many elements to utilizing this. And again, that may seem like a lot, but just start with this video, right? Creating and utilizing testimonials that you can drive more results for your business. All right.
Nick, I love all of that. I just wanted to emphasize it because we try and tell people all the time, recruiting is like sales. And for care work, we're recruiting for them. We do it for people all over. One of the things we get from our clients when they start is what sets you apart, so that we're communicating that on the phone screen. Then you re-communicate that on the sales page, and you re-communicate that in the interview invite. You don't want to just wait for them to go find that information, or people are waiting until the interview, like, oh, when they come in for the interview, we're going to tell them all about what makes our agency great, but they're not going to apply and they're not going to show up to the interview if you're not already showing them that. So I just wanted to jump in. I loved all of that.
Love it. Awesome. Thank you, Rachel, for sharing. And I know I can go long. Hopefully you guys can go long. So I know I'm trying to rush here, but it's all right. If you guys can stick around, great. And I'll stick around for questions also. And we're almost wrapped up here too. So retention, right? How can you utilize video in retention? And so one of the most amazing things that I love to do is actually sending video messages. This is so easy and so simple to do. And this may be, the one thing that's beneficial about the recruitment video is that you don't have to be on camera, which I know some people are resistant. I spend a lot of time helping people overcome those fears of judgment and all these different aspects that come to it. But the about video, obviously you do, but this is a way for you to get on camera where only like maybe one person is seeing it, or a couple people, or just your caregivers, right? And how we're utilizing video messaging. I actually started doing this. I don't know when I exactly started doing it, but it wasn't a business tactic or tool. I honestly just wanted to send a video message to my friends and my family and wish them a happy birthday, right? Or tell them, and I just tell them how much I appreciate them. And the response is always overwhelming because people just aren't doing this. They're not sending video messages. Think about on your birthday. Is anyone sending you a video message on your birthday? No, you get a ton of people on your Facebook wall. It's like, happy birthday. And then you get some text messages like, happy birthday, right? But what if you took 45 seconds to record a video and just said how much you appreciate them, wishing them a happy birthday, and utilizing this? And so this transcends into utilizing this in your own marketing. So the tool that I recommend is Loom. There's a number of other different ones out there, loom.com, that you can use to send video messages easily. And so you can use this for a number of different elements, right? Following up with clients, referral sources, caregiver applicants, and interviews. So if you are automating your recruitment and you want to, and you have time to now make a difference to stand out, if there's certain candidates that you are like, man, this person's really awesome, I want to make sure they work for us, you can send them a personalized message and be like, hey, Rachel, I loved your application. It was really awesome. We'd love to have you in, and we're excited to bring you in for an interview. Imagine how much that caregiver is going to be like, wow, they really want me, It's going to make them want to work for you more because they see that you really want them, that you took that effort to send that video message, right? And so that's the recruitment element, right? But you can also use it for the retention, right? Just wishing your caregivers a happy birthday with a nice personalized message, or showcasing your appreciation, sending it. It's called Loom, Ollie, Loom. Yeah, thank you, Rachel. And so when it comes to that, right, is utilizing this and sending these messages for any situation that you can. And one of the things that some of my students are doing is actually just creating a Loom video and then sending it to all of their caregivers, right? And so you can do this in a couple different ways, right? You can just, it doesn't even have to be to the individual. You can just send out a video that's like, hey, I just want to say thank you so much for all that you do for our clients. We really appreciate it, right? It's so impactful. Then you can say something like, by the way, we're having a party, or hey, you haven't submitted something, or you can, I have the sandwich method listed here, so then you can sandwich it into leading with them and appreciating them, or just some type of thing that's towards them, then delivering your message that you want to get to them, right? Because people are more likely to watch a video. People retain more when they watch a video, right? So you can send them just messages that you want to send to your caregivers, and then you can close and say, hey, thank you, appreciation, or some other element that's geared towards them, right? So when we're sharing this, we want to really focus on them, and the consistency becomes value from the retention standpoint. And so even if you're doing it like once a month, that can be really impactful in just sending a message, especially if it's coming from the owner. It's even more powerful. But if your recruiter's doing this, or, if you have a care manager that's kind of organizing, whoever's really the one that's in most communication with your caregivers. But imagine how much more impactful it would be coming from the caregivers, right? And there's a ton of different things that you can do in sharing this with them, right? So I mentioned a couple of these, right? You may recognize different peers, right? Recognizing other caregivers for their amazing work. Maybe you share an inspirational quote, right? And just try and showcase that. Or you're educating them. That's more towards like the YouTube, and you can leverage some of your YouTube videos as a retention tool and sending it to your caregivers. Important updates, right? Available shifts. Again, I caution with that, because we don't want it just like, hey, we have shifts, then that's just going to be overloaded. Then they're going to stop watching the video. So keep that in mind. Sharing stories, sharing company wins, letting them know, hey, we just attended our conference and we got a ton of value. We actually won a brand award for the conference that we went to. right? Like you can share and get people involved in what it is that you're doing. You can remind people about caregiver referrals, which we know is a huge element in increasing your getting more caregivers, right, is coming from existing caregivers. And then you can ask engaging questions. You can utilize, hey, what are some of your goals for this month? Just providing value and staying in front of them, right? That becomes really powerful. Yeah, if you're doing caregiver appreciation events, this is a great way to promote it and what you're doing, right? And how you're doing it and documenting that and showcasing that and just making sure that the more that you let them know about it, the more that they're likely to then attend. I love talking about goals, right? Asking progress and where they're doing. This is to me, this is like a side note, but I just feel that we focus so much on like we want to do retention, and it's so a lot of times it's like, oh well, we offer caregiver training, right? It's like, well, that's still kind of about you. Like, yes, they want caregiver training, but like imagine the impact that you could create if you helped a caregiver buy a car, right? If you provided the resources of like financial planning where they were able to then delegate parts of their paycheck towards, raising a car, you were able to connect them with a car dealership with someone that you know in the industry, right? And so imagine being able to showcase that on your recruitment page, on your social media. Hey, we helped Pamela buy a car. Like, what? That's amazing, right? How are you helping them to achieve their goals? And obviously, you may be thinking, Carl, it's great. We're getting them transportation. That's beneficial for us, right? But maybe it's a home. Maybe it's something that's not relevant to you, something that's just beneficial for them. How are you helping them to achieve their goals? Are you helping them to choose maybe fitness goals, right? And so often, self care, yeah, so often we don't focus on this, and everyone needs self care, right? We all need to spend more time on what our goals are. I think it's like the 1% of the population actually like have goals or something crazy small like that. And if you're an entrepreneur, hopefully, this is a big part of being an entrepreneur and self-development, professional development, and utilizing this. And so how can we implant that into our caregivers and helping encourage them to do these same things that we're working on, things that you're learning? How can you share with them, right? If you read a book or a course or YouTube videos that you find valuable that talk about these things, you can share that. Or recognizing referral partners, right? I mentioned a financial planner. Maybe there's a yoga studio that you can partner with, that you can create a deal, right? How are you helping them with their own self-care and their own personal development? Sharing quotes, right? I mentioned that briefly a little bit, just motivating them in the messaging, asking them questions. Hey, how can you support? How can we support you? What are some struggles? Getting more information, sharing your core values. This becomes a great social media tool, not just from the video element, but every month you may share a different core value. That becomes a social media post that targets all three core audiences. But each month you may just send it to your caregivers. Hey, this is our core value of the month. This is what it means. This is what it means when you implement it, right? That's the types of company culture and stuff that you can implement. So the video messaging, because I think I did saw a question about how much to post on social media. Consistency, but quality over quantity in regards to social media. In regards to the video messaging for retention, it can be whatever you want. It can be daily, it can be weekly, it can be monthly. I just recommend that you're being consistent. And the same thing goes with social media posting, is that you're being consistent, but you don't need to be posting every single day. That's definitely too much for most agencies anyway. I'd rather you spend more time being strategic, creating great content, personalized content, real people, than just like, oh, I just need to post. That's why it's not a good question often, is like, how much should I post? Well, you only want to post what's valuable. So like that's not really a good metric in regards to social media. You just want to make sure that you're showing consistency. I mean, even if you're just doing once a month of something that's real and personal, that's going to be more valuable than posting every day that's just like stock videos or buy my stuff, right? Or we're hiring. So that's really impactful. But really think about what's your goal, right? Who's going to create these videos? Is it you? Maybe you mix it up. Maybe you do it one week, then your caregiver, care coordinator does it another week. And then how are you measuring, right? So you can actually track this and understanding your retention rate, implement this, and then see if your retention rate goes up when you implement these strategies. And absolutely will. My clients are seeing that retention go up when you implement it. So quick exercise, then we'll go into questions, but really think about, hey, what's the first Loom video that you would send to your caregivers? What's something that you could even send today? Go on Loom, hey, record this quick message, 45 seconds, right? It can be that short. And just sending them a quick message. It can just be, hey, I wanted to take a moment today and tell you how much I appreciate all that you do. We could not do what we do without you. Boom, cut. That wasn't even 45 seconds. That was like 20. Imagine how impactful that could be. So I will open up for questions. My name is Nick Bonitatibus. My tagline is Let's Grow Together. I am all about how we can work together, because the more that we work together, the more that we all can win. Thank you so much for your time. Absolutely. We'll go into questions, and then I have a home care brand audit here that if you want to learn more about building your online presence, let's talk about it. All right. Questions.
What?
Also, oh,
Amazing
sorry, Rachel.
information.
Amazing
No,
engagement. All of you guys, just the comments coming in just like makes me so happy. So I really appreciate you guys.
I'm going to launch a quick poll. If you guys will just let us know if you would like Nick to reach out about digital marketing. Apparently my poll question's incomplete, but CareWork does recruiting. I love that information, Nick. I got to tell you, whenever I watch you speak, I walk away with immediate things I can do in my business that I need to do, that we should be doing to market. So I absolutely love to hear that. But you guys drop your questions in the chat. The video marketing is so powerful, and I hope you guys saw that today, how you can be using this to better find caregivers, to get high quality caregivers, and then to keep them around, because we want to fix the leaky bucket, right? At CareWork, we do so much work with helping people get more applicants and get more of them to show up. But if you're not working on retention and building relationships with the caregivers that you have, you're just pouring into a bucket with a hole at the bottom. So I love this dual focus of how do we better appeal to high quality caregivers, but also how do we build relationships to keep the caregivers that we have around? So powerful. All right, anybody got any questions in the chat? I think we answered a lot of questions as we were kind of going.
Yeah. I love this. I love the opportunity. Oh, someone, yeah, Canva. If you guys don't know Canva, oh my gosh, I love Canva. It's like there is no better digital marketing tool, and I stick by this, than Canva. It is the absolute killer and best tool, because you can use it for YouTube thumbnails, creating social media posts, flyers, I mean, literally anything, business cards, just the list goes on in using Canva. And so yes, I recommend Canva. I even have like Canva tutorials that are part of some of the courses that I offer to better utilize it. But it is definitely the one new feature that Canva has is actually you can create videos on there. The video editing is not super great yet. But I expect that with time, it's still kind of like in the early phases, but I hope in the next year, it'll be a little bit better than what it is. And if they can crack that and really having like a good editing tool, that's going to be huge for Canva. It's also great too for utilizing it with your teams. So as you build out your team, you can share Canva with your team so that you all have access. You can upload all of your photos of your caregivers, of clients, and then everyone has access to those photos to then utilize when creating posts or creating marketing materials. Love Canva.
We could talk about Canva all day. Another question, do you go back ever and delete posts that maybe did not age very well?
The short answer is no. The likelihood of somebody going back and checking out something that you posted a long time ago is just like so unlikely. Unless you're like a celebrity, right? Where they're like trying to target. But yeah, but the big thing here, right? And I think you bring up a good point in that my focus and kind of you heard me touch on it today is that we're not just creating stuff to post on social media. Like there's less value in that than what I talked about with like the about video and the recruitment video, and creating content that you can use again and again and again and again. Because once it goes through the news feed, it's gone. Like somebody finding your old content is like very rare. Somebody stumbling upon it. Every once in a while, I'll have someone comment on a video that I posted like a few years ago on Facebook, but that hasn't happened as much recently. So it's not really happening. So yeah, just think about that in regards to content, and how we're leveraging it and stuff. That's just, how are we creating assets and not just like, oh, things that we need to post one time.
Perfect. All right, guys, I know we have some more questions coming in. We are going to end the webinar there. I highly recommend you follow up with Nick for more questions. Thank you, everybody, for the engagement. Great to see some of our friends on here. We always love that. If you guys have any questions, follow up with Nick, and then I'm always here to talk recruiting. I could talk about it all day. But thank you so much, Nick, for being here with us this morning, your time, early in the morning. And thank you guys for tuning in. I hope you took away some great action steps. Now go do them. Go get together with Nick, get the training from him, and go implement this in your business. Have a great week, everybody.